So let's move on to this next topic with Planned Parenthood. All right, so I thought that this was a joke. So initially when I heard this story, they were talking about how Planned Parenthood has set up a truck outside in Chicago, outside the Democratic National Convention, and they're going to be doing abortions. They're going to be doing vasectomies on the actual bus. I'm like, nah, I don't believe it. So the abortions that they're doing are technically the medical abortion. So I believe that's the pill, but they are actually doing vasectomy procedures. They're doing vasectomy procedures. I'm going to play the video and then we'll go over it, have some comments about it. But you guys tell me what your thoughts are.
It's not just politicians and protesters heading to the Democratic National Convention today. The Planned Parenthood mobile clinic has also just arrived, along with some controversy. They'll be offering free abortion medication, IUDs, and vasectomies with the goal of helping patients from surrounding states who have had their access to abortion restricted. This causing outrage among pro-life groups, which are planning to protest. Abortion rights are a hot-button issue for Democrats, a topic that barely came up during the Republican National Convention. Joining me now is author and radio host at 77 WABC, James Golden, a.k.a. Bo Snerdley. Bo, good morning. Nice to see you. Thanks for joining us this morning. How will the optics of Planned Parenthood offering free abortions and repurposed RV land with those moderate voters? There are a lot of them out there.
I don't know how it will land with all of them, but among some of them, there has to be disgust. I mean, this is, in essence, glorifying abortions to the point that you're now going to bring in a mobile van and tell delegates and other people coming in for the political convention that foremost in your mind is providing abortions for the people there. The optics are terrible on it.
The optics are terrible on it. Let me ask y'all a question. Why? Why are the Democrats so obsessed with us not having kids, us not having families? Why? I'm just wondering. Why is that such a principled approach? Why do you have so much pride in making sure that, you know, we talk about reproduction rights? How come all these reproduction rights that Planned Parenthood is behind is actually talking about terminating your ability to reproduce or terminating your pregnancy? Why? Like, I'm just really wondering. And what gets me is that people will stand on it, and the very people, a lot of these liberals, a lot of these people will get behind this agenda just because it's a part of the overall Democratic agenda. So truth be told, a lot of people that end up supporting this stuff, I don't even think really it's one of their top issues. It's just something that is out here right now because it's a hot topic. It's easy for the Democrats right now to talk about Trump because Roe v. Wade. It's just a hot topic right now, right? But let me ask you this question. The same people that believe that everything is racist, right? The same people that believe that everything is racist. This is more obviously the Democratic Party. There's a lot of the black community that I talk to where they believe that everything is racist. And I'm like, okay, cool. So you believe that everything is racist, but then you vote for a Democratic candidate. You vote for a party that aligns themselves with Planned Parenthood, in which they target black communities, claiming that they're doing it to help with women's reproductive rights, but you think that everything is racist. To me, it just doesn't make sense. Like, but then you support it. You get what I'm saying? Like, what could be more racist than an organization targeting a particular community to have abortions so they can profit and so you can feel better about not having your baby? Or what type of group targets men having vasectomies? Like, I'm trying to figure it out here. If we are living during a times where people are having less kids already, for whatever reason, it's expensive, the gender war between men and women, for whatever reason, if we're already having less kids, then why are vasectomies such a priority? Oh, is it because we're encouraging just casual sex? So we're not encouraging what comes with sex as far as the natural aspect of having a baby. We're just encouraging people to have more free, flowing sex and whatnot. It just doesn't make sense. I don't understand why people align themselves with this side of the art. It just doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense. I don't understand why you offer free vasectomies. I don't understand. I just don't get it. So let's keep going on a little bit. We'll listen to a little bit more.
It's as if somehow or another, these people are not, number one, they're also giving away contraceptives. So, okay, your delegates are not responsible enough to manage their own sex lives. They're offering vasectomies for men. I guess if men going there want to be neutered, that's their right. But this whole optic about the abortions, it seems to be just not only in bad taste. What does it say about the party
but
that this is something that they're trivializing?
If I can
to
jump
the point
in.
of go ahead.
Planned Parenthood says all the appointments have been filled. There's a waiting list for vasectomies. Is that a sign that this is not going to go or scare away those moderate voters?
I don't think that's a sign of that at all. I mean, I think when you look at the Democrat Party, you have the most radical of the radicals showing up. Now, they're saying that they're filled. Okay, I guess we'll have to take their word for it. They also said a number of other things that are not believable, and some of them are too graphic for me to even talk about on this program. But look at what the critics are saying about this. I read one report that said the Democrats are opening.
Yo, as I'm sitting here, I'm just like, why is government so involved in our sexual lives and ability to reproduce? These should be family decisions. Why is this? I sit back and just wonder, like, why is this even a big issue? It's because it's just one that they know can be emotionalized and weaponized to convince us to move one way or another. And as I'm listening to this, I of course, we're going off on a little bit on a tangent, but I think about Project 2025. I think about, what Democrats have been saying, like, oh, if we don't win this election, then you're going to be back in chains and shackles, and it's going to be back to slavery times. I'm sitting here and I wrote down a note. I said, you know what's weird? They like throw that weird word out. You know what's weird to me? The fact that they can convince people who are, hold on. Let me actually show you this. Hold on. Matter of fact, can somebody bring up the map? Can somebody send me a link to the map, or not the map, the graph that showed it was the 15, the household income, the breakdown of the household income with different types of Americans. Y'all remember that graph where it had like Black Americans on the bottom, I think Indian Americans on top? Can somebody send me the link to that? So the question that I had is, and I just thought about the graph as I'm talking about it. How can you convince people who are already at the bottom of society, Black people? Just look at the numbers when it comes to America. How do you convince this group of people that if someone else wins, they'll be worse off? So to vote for us, because if you vote for them, you'll be worse off. Meanwhile, that group is already in power. I need to make sure that y'all understand me, and I need to make sure that I'm understanding what's going on. The very group that is actually in power, while we are in last place, is trying to convince us, and being, in my opinion, is very successful at it. Just is what it is. They're trying to convince us, or they are convincing us, that if the other group wins, we're going back to slavery. This is why they have to be so extreme. And it's all coming to mind as I'm having the conversation with y'all. This is why it has to be extreme and say, you'll be in chains, you'll be in shackles. Because if they just say, you'll be at the bottom of society, people will look and say, well, damn, we're at the bottom of society and y'all are in power. We're at the bottom of society, and hold on, for the last What is it going to be? 4, 8, 12, 16 out of the last 20 years, the president has been Democrat, right? So 16 out of the last 20 years, it was Barack twice, right? Then Trump. So 8 with Barack, another 4 with Trump. Then 4 with Trump, and then 4 with Biden. So I'm sorry, 12 out of the last 16 years. 12 out of the last 16 years, we've had a Democratic president. And black people are in last place with Democratic leadership. It's the same thing. It goes hand in hand when, when you look at these cities that are ran by Democrats and the kids can't read and the cities are doing terrible. 12 out of the last 16 years, the president has been Democratic, a Democratic president. And now this very same group is trying to convince us that if we vote for the other group, we'll be worse off, but we're already in last place now. And we've already been in last place with the leadership 12 out of the last 16 years being Democrat. Am I missing something? Hold on. Let me take a second, look at the chat. Am I missing something? I don't see how you convince people who are already losing, who are already struggling, who you look at black on black crime, you look at poverty, you look at every single rate in the black community. Black people are in last place, living in the most violent communities, living in the poorest communities, the most illiterate communities where kids can't read. But then the very leadership group that you voted for blindly for the last, I don't know how many years, for generations and generations, but they're convincing you that if you allow another group to win, you're going to be in chains and shackles. We are already in chains and we're already there. We've been there. It's even worse than the physical shackles. We have mental chains and shackles. Think about it. We have to have mental chains and shackles to be convinced by a group that's telling us that if you don't vote for us, things are going to get worse for you. We're at the bottom. We are already at the bottom. I wrote down a couple questions. Oh, all right. So I got a question for y'all. So why can't they convince the people with more to lose that the country will be in shambles if they don't win? If anything, you would convince the people that are doing well, right? That have a lot to lose. I can see them being convinced by this argument. If I have a lot to lose, if I'm doing very well right now, and let's say I'm in first, second place compared to 15th, then I can understand a group telling me like, hey, your groups, y'all been doing very well. Think about it. Y'all been doing very well. It's because we've been in leadership the last 12 out of 16 years. And our policies have allowed y'all to do very well. Now, if you let this other group come in, if it was 12 out of 16 years Republican instead of 12 out of 16 years Democrat, then I don't know if you'd be in that top spot. I don't know if you'd be in the top 3. So if you don't vote for us, you're taking a big chance. I can understand that. But they can't convince those people that because they're not silly enough to go for it. Am I making sense here? It's almost okay. So I even wrote this down from last night. So last night I got into Miami and I'm heading downtown to the spot, to my apartment. And if you've ever been to downtown Miami, there's a particular area where homeless people are allowed to stay or encouraged to stay. And then they kind of maybe venture a little bit outside of that area and they're just on the streets. And a lot of these stores aren't active, but even the stores that are active, when it comes to about maybe 9, 10 o'clock, you just walk down the street and there's just people just sleeping there. Like people just sleeping there as if that's their spot. And it's almost like I was thinking to myself as I was driving past them, and it's almost like if you tell a homeless person, if you go up to a homeless person and say, hey, if you don't support me, you're going to be homeless. And the homeless person look at you like, bro, I'm already homeless. And you're in power. Matter of fact, you've been in power. But now you're trying to convince me that if I don't continue to vote for me, I'm going to be homeless, the same thing that I'm actually in right now with you in power. It would be delusional, right? But that is what they've been successful at doing. That's what they've been successful at doing. And please tell me if I'm seeing it in the wrong way. Hold on, let me make sure I'm catching up with the chat. Oh, thanks, Rhonda. So Rhonda wrote, so this is the scripture that I was referring to. It's harder for a wealthy man to get into heaven than a camel to get through the eye of the needle. Think about that. That's scripture, right? That's scripture, right? For all the Christians out there, right? And if it's Old Testament, I guess that goes for the Jewish people as well, with the Torah, if it's in the Torah as well. But it's harder for a wealthy man to get into heaven than a camel to get through the eye of the needle. So why try to be wealthy then? That would be kind of one of the questions that I ask. You know, why do all these pastors try to be wealthy? If the pastors know that it's harder for a wealthy man to get into heaven than a camel to get through the eye of the needle, then why would you want to be wealthy, pastor? Why would the people that are running this country, Christian-based country, right? Why would you want to be wealthy? I don't know. All right, so Lucille wrote, capitalist society. I was kind of saying that, for, you know, not really meaning the question. I understand it. Lucille wrote, the chains have been broken since 1863, and I believe I'm reading that right. 1863, and we ain't going back. We got to rise above all odds. It may look hard, but it's possible. We can do it by not accepting they're wrong. I agree, Lucille. We accept it. We definitely accept it. So Rhonda wrote, love that you're putting this topic out there. We need to be true to ourselves than be slaves to money and selling out on our principles. That's it. It's like, it's so simple. Honestly, we overcomplicate this thing. And this is why they always show us, you know, the beautiful homes. They highlight all the good things about wealthy people, you know, how they're living amazing lives and not necessarily the negative things that come along with it. You want to be wealthy, cool. Y'all know the goal, purposeful abundance. I'm perfectly fine with, I want to get extremely wealthy, but only if my priorities is my purpose. You get what I'm saying? Like only by prioritizing my purpose do I want to get extremely wealthy. That's it. If it's anything that goes against my principles, my integrity, my moral compass, then I don't want it. It's cool. You want to know why? Because that's an easy, you know, a lot of times we ask for direction, but outside of the Bible, even if you never read the Bible and you just live by the golden rule of treating other people the way that you want to be treated, that is a very simple approach to things that can serve as that moral compass for us in every single aspect of our lives. Very simple, makes decision making very easy. But the problem is when we see so many other groups profiting and choosing to go with the profit, and it ends up allowing them to control certain situations. It does. So it is important for us to make money, but just money that aligns with our principles. Because what ends up happening, the people that get into power, they start throwing their money out there. And even if when you have true principles and you stand on what you stand on, then you're not going to take that bag of money. You're not going to take that bag of money. It's going to be an easy decision because any money that comes with you accepting that bag, you know, is not going to be worth it because that means that you have to push poison into your community. You have to make ignorant music that is going to shape a culture that is going to cause black men to be killing other black men in the community. That's going to cause black men to be disrespecting black women in the community. That's going to now become such a dominant culture that now it's going to impact various ethnic groups in America, maybe outside of America as well. So it's just the conversation that needs to be had. Queez wrote, same thing in San Diego. Well, you're going to be more homeless here, right? Telling the people, well, I know you homeless now, but if those people win, then you're going to be even more homeless. Like, it's like, what? Like, I'm already here. You have nothing to lose. We have nothing to lose. Why not? It's so crazy. We have nothing to lose. Why? If you can't stand on principles when you have nothing to lose, how are you going to stand on principles when you got everything to lose when you're winning? If you can't stand on principles when you're broke, ain't no way you're standing on principles when you get to the bag. You can convince yourself all you want that, oh yeah, once I get in that position, I'm just going to compromise my principles and values, until I get to that position. But once I get into that position, then I'll be a principled person. No, you are a different person. You're a different person. Every compromise that we make where we choose our profits over principles, we become a different person. All right, so let's we'll listen to a couple more seconds of this, and then we'll move on to the next.
Their convention with a nod to human sacrifice. That's the way that it's being, the optics of this look like to, I think, Mr. and Mrs. Normal America, who look at this and say, even if I agree, even if I'm pro-choice, this is not something I want to see happen at a political convention. It's a terrible look for the Democrats. I don't know why they agreed to allow this to happen at their convention.
I have less than a minute. The latest polling release shows 70% of women of reproductive age think there should be a nationwide right to abortion. Is that why President Trump has maybe scaled back his rhetoric on abortion rights, despite putting into place 3 of the 5 Supreme Court justices who overturned Roe v. Wade just a few years ago?
I've read other polling data that says that this is not the issue that is going to define the presidential race this time. Mm-hmm. This is not the number one issue or number 2 or number 3. The 3 big issues that will define the campaign: illegal immigration, the economy, and this raging inflation that's going on, and crime.
Okay, so I want to talk about those 2 of those things that he just talked about. He said the illegal immigration and the inflation. And real quick, let me acknowledge what Rhonda just wrote. Once a person sells out their principles at work, it spills over into their personal life. Rhonda, I agree with you 100%. Once a person sells out their principles at work in order to get some money or whatever reason, it spills over into your personal life. You become a different person. So like I said, I want to talk about the illegal immigration and then the inflation. So y'all know I'm always trying to draw certain connections. And I was sitting here last night and I said, think about this. With that Inflation Reduction Act, remember I just did that part where a dumb ish I said the other day? Let's go back to that Inflation Reduction Act that Kamala Harris signed the tiebreaker for and that her and Biden put through, I believe maybe 2 years ago, maybe. And think about the Inflation Reduction Act. It's either taking our tax dollars or it's printing more money. So it's either taking our money or it's printing more money and creating inflation, which devalues our money. So it's one of those 2 things, right? That's what the Inflation Reduction Act, it took like 88 billion or 88 million, whatever. I don't know I forget the exact amount. I don't want to misspeak, but it took a large amount of money to hire people in the IRS to go after people and their unpaid taxes. Now, what are they going to do with that money? So here you have the government coming in, using the IRS to raise money. How do they raise money? Y'all know how they raise money. They take taxes away from us. So they're either taking our tax dollars or printing more money, which devalues our money, to put in policies that directly target illegal immigrants. We're going to provide you this support when you come into our country. How are we going to provide you this support? Oh, we're going to take the money from the other Americans, or we're just going to print more, which is going to devalue the money of the other Americans. And we're going to do this specifically for y'all, specifically for you, the illegal migrants. I'm not talking about the legal migrants. This is specifically for the people that we welcomed and invited basically to come here illegally. But then Kamala Harris says in the video that we've put out before that she can't do anything specifically for Black people. So for all the Black people, I'm asking y'all, all the Black Democrats support the Democratic Party that got excited about the reparation talk whenever elections come around. And to be totally honest, there was more talk about the reparations, I believe, in 2020 leading up to that election, because there was actually an open primary. When you don't have an open primary, you don't have Tulsi Gabbard calling out a Kamala Harris for her background. When you don't have a Kamala Harris calling out Joe Biden, you don't have that. They just put Kamala in the front and said, hey, oh yeah, she's going to be our, nominee. She's going to be our candidate. She's going to be the person that represents our party. That's what you have. So going back to it, Kamala said that she can't do anything specific for Black people, but we can do things specifically for illegal immigrants. I remember Bernie Sanders saying that, oh, we can't give out reparations to Black people because it would be it'll be too divisive. But we give out reparations to other groups. We've given out reparations to Asian groups. We recently, Barack gave out reparations to Jewish peoples, Jewish survivors of the Holocaust, the families, the survivors of the Holocaust. So the group that is supposed to be in your corner, that relies on you to vote for them without doing anything for you, that tells you you ain't Black unless you vote for him. That's what Biden said, right? That group then tells you they can't do anything specifically for you, but they take your money, take our money, devalue our money in order to support a specific group that is coming here illegally. I don't understand. I don't understand. And Queez wrote, Bernie was like, nah, my people only. Bernie's Jewish. He knows that he knows that Jewish people get reparations, but he didn't want Black people to get reparations. It just is what it is. Like, yo, when you just start being okay with just seeing things for what they are and calling out things for what they are, all of this stuff becomes very clear. All of this stuff becomes very clear. I don't understand it, but I don't know. I guess people rock with it. Okay, so we're going to move on to the next topic. Give me a second. Let me pull up this next video. I think we're going to go to discussing RFK Jr. a bit. We should have a video queued up. Let's take a look. Yes, we're going to do the CNN. Okay. All right, so let me share the screen and play this with y'all. Okay, so this was the bombshell news that apparently RFK Jr. was considering dropping out of the race and supporting Trump.